Ah, my intention this morning is to be a vessel by which everything that is love, everything that is empowerment, everything that is truth may be downloaded and come out of here, and that it make you so uncomfortable that you will examine all conformity in your life and make a more expanded choice for yourself. How's that? Yeah, all right. So I'm fascinated by the word originality. I'm very much an advocate for people expressing themselves in a unique manner. And being an original or originality really is something that requires a sense of rebellion inside of you. Because it's very, very easy to walk the same path as that of your forefathers, your domestication, as Mary Jane alluded to from the works of Don Miguel Ruiz. And even though some of us may have come from backgrounds of people that we admire greatly, and some of us may have come from backgrounds of those people that we ran away as fast as we could in order to create something original, what I know is that we're both elements are being pressed or being pushed in order to find your own voice, to find your own originality. So originality, have the same origin in terms of the Latin word, which is originalis, which means the point at which something comes into existence. And on days like today, like Father's Day, we have a very well-versed sense of human origin and our ancestry, of where we came from, our family tree, and all of the dynamics that go with that. But I am always more fascinated by our spiritual origin, our spiritual family tree. Because what I know about that particular origin is that it is timeless. It's timeless. And that originality comes to us and begs us to find a voice of uniqueness. And we've often said that our uniqueness is not counterintuitive to oneness, because oneness doesn't mean sameness. But that each and every one of us, although we are a part of the one, have something so precious and so unique that it is our soul's course, it is our soul's assignment to be able to speak that originality and that uniqueness out into the world. So when I think about speaking out into the world, I think about that beautiful element that is called the echo. Any of you ever been in a place in our world where you've experienced the power of the echo? Usually you have to be in some kind of canyon or some kind of cave where those sound waves bounce off of objects and that voice patterning returns back to us exactly with the same inflection and tonality as that which it was spoken. And there are, I'm sure, many places across our world, if you've never experienced that. I was in Vietnam once, and I went into these caves on Hulong Bay. And when you walked into the mouth of this particular cave, there was a sign there that said, "Shout it out." And so you would shout out, and anything that you said would come immediately back to you. In Cambodia, there is a temple that they now call it the Angelina Jolie Temple, because... Yes, they do. And because that's where she filmed Tomb Raider. The actual name of the temple is called Tao Prom. But in Tao Prom, there is a corridor of stone that you can walk into. And if you take your fist and you beat your fist against your chest, the walls, the acoustics are so perfect and so in alignment that the beating of that echoes back and echoes back and echoes back. And of course, all the tourists stand in a line to be able to beat their chest, to be able to hear this. When I was a child, there was a cartoon. I can't even tell you what the character was, but he heard a rustling somewhere, and he went, "Who dat?" And all of a sudden, it echoed back, "Who dat?" And then he said, "Who dat say who dat when I say who dat?" And for a child who memorizes everything, I memorized that, and I would go around and say that, much to the annoyance of everyone around me. "Who dat say who dat when I say who dat?" And so the echo is one of the most the echo is one of the most brilliant metaphors for the spiritual path. It describes our world, and I should say our world of consciousness, and the way in which it works. As we know it, then, whatever it is that we shout out into that universal law, that receptivity, whatever it is that we shout out into that world, it comes back to us. In fact, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What you are comes to you." What you are comes to you. So if you love without condition, then unconditional love comes back to you. If you judge others, judgment comes back to you, like that echo. If you lie, you are lied to. And we start to see the beauty and the structure and the perfection of this kind of law. So life is very much an echo, and then that means that the world is our echo chamber. And what we are shouting out in consciousness is constantly reverberating back. Now, on this particular day, Father's Day, it reminds me of our generational patterning. Mary Jane used the word domestication. That was a word that was very much used by Don Miguel Ruiz in the Four Agreements. And how you and I are domesticated, whether we even realize it or not, simply by our upbringing. Simply by the geography and location of where we were raised. By the mentality, by the consciousness and the awareness. And those generational echoes are very much the opinions, the beliefs, the practices, and the attitudes of those who came before us. Those things are echoing back to us, and without our consciousness or our awareness of that, sometimes we are just the mouthpiece of those that came before us. But the brilliant thing about you and I and anyone on this conscious path is that at some point, there had to be rebellion. Rebellion of that way. In fact, there is a book that talks about some of the key figures in this movement that we call New Thought, and the title of the book is Spirits in Rebellion. And so we are spirits in rebellion when we begin to question the generational echoes of the way it's always been. And I don't know about you, but that's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing to become dissatisfied. It's a wonderful thing to honor the discontent that is inside of us. It's a wonderful thing to break free from the path of the parent and the teacher. Even though that parent and that teacher may have been instrumental and glorious and dynamic, do you still get that you are unique and apart from that? Apart from that, meaning that you have your own voice. There has to be a time where you and I stop regurgitating everything that we've simply heard from somebody else and find, what does it mean to me? Who am I? What is my voice? And how am I going to project that voice into the echo of that which is law? And find and discover my own unique sense of self. And so what I discover is that many of us then practice that rebellion. So we broke free from our religious upbringing. I was born and raised in the Assemblies of God faith. And up until the age of 17, that's all that I knew. That's all that I saw. That's all that I observed. I knew that if I did this, this, and this, I was going to go and I was going to burn forever in the fiery pits of hell. And that was my template until I thought, you know what? I don't care. I don't like this. I'm going to take my chances. And I'm going to be a spirit in rebellion. And I'm going to go be a heathen, and I'm going to explore. And see, the thing about letting go is that before anything new can come to us, there first has to be what? A letting go. In fact, our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, nature abhors a vacuum, meaning that when you let go of something, you create a vacuum. And nature, in and of itself, its natural state must fill that with something else. But here's the thing. You don't want to fill that thing with the same old, same old. You don't want to fill that thing with a generational echo of that which has come before you, because you have something unique and new and vital and fresh to offer the world. Everybody does. Everybody does. And so what we let go of must then be the channel by which something new, something fresh can come in. And so as I did that with religion, it was fascinating to me, and you will find this out too, that when you do that, when you let go of the old for something new, not everyone is going to be pleased. You know, my oldest brother became a drug addict, and my mother could deal with his drug addiction better than she could deal with my religious rebellion. Because she could go on Sunday morning to her Sunday school class, and she could get all those ladies to pray for my brother. For me, it was a pretty hopeless cause, because I was a part of something that was who knew? You know, it was the big cult. Who knew what it was? And then to make matters worse, I became a minister in that thing that we dare not speak its name. And I remember when it was finally time, when I qualified for ordination, and I reached out to her and I said, you know, it would mean a lot for you to come. And because I thought, wouldn't it be perfect to get her in the room with hundreds of people and ministers so that she could see that we weren't alien sea pods? And I thought, this is perfect. And she couldn't bring herself to do it. You know, and what I understand about that is not everybody's going to be pleased and throw a party for your particular rebellion. But that does not mean that you do not stop. And you have to understand, and you have to begin to question, and you have to begin to know, is my voice just the regurgitation of something else? Or is what I am shouting out into that universe comprised of my beliefs and my ideas and my exploration and my identity and my uniqueness? And you get to honor that. I turned double nickels, 55 on Monday. And so I was in San Diego. You turn 55 and it warrants applause. So, but it was a big birthday for me, because 54, you know, that was a testing year. That was when my spirit was in rebellion, because that's the year my father died. That's the year that most of my siblings died. And so it was a big year for me to cut the cord of whatever that soul agreement was. And on Monday morning, it was very early, Ty and I were in San Diego. We had this little room right on the Pacific Ocean in San Diego. And he shook me and he goes, "Are you alive? Did you make it?" You know? And so that day I was still moving kind of slow from all the bronchitis stuff. And I sat on this Adirondack chair that faced the ocean. And for quite a while, I had this very unusual meditation. And as I sat there and as I was doing my spiritual practice and my work, I started to have this, bear with me, but it was almost like a vision of what the next evolution, the next chapter of my life would be. And this number 35 more years came up. And I went, okay, I'll take it. And in that, there was this rush of almost pictures of vast change. And what I will tell you, the first thing that really chuckled, the very first thing that came to me was Facebook. And it said, there will be no more Facebook. And I was like, because something else will have come, and then something else will have come, and something else will have come. And you start to get how transitory life is. I saw that there will be no more doctors, that the way in which everything that has to do with medicine will completely change. Cell phones will be different. Communication will be different. This will be different. meaning the way in which we as a community meet in a tribal-like energy. All of that connectivity, everything will be different. Transportation will be different. We move at a celestial speed up. And if you're not aware of that, change takes place rapidly. And so in that change, and in the awareness of that change, we get to find our voice. And we get to shout that out into that law. On my birthday, I had lunch with my mentor, my longtime teacher, Louise Hay. She'll be 88 in October. And as we were talking, she said to me, she goes, "So, I wonder what it'll be like for both of us in the next 2 years." And I said, "Well, why do you think 2 years?" And she says, "Well, I'll be 90. And I said, "Well, I don't know. How do you want it to be?" She goes, "You know what? I don't know, and I don't care." She said, "Because everybody's trying to tell me what to do. Because they're so concerned with her now that she's pretty much fully retired. And, well, Louise, she's started painting. She's a great painter. Now you can paint more." She goes, "I might not want to paint. I might do something else." And there was this cavalier, wonderful thing where she said, "I don't need to know what it looks like." And when she said, "I don't need to know what it looks like," it reminded me of, I don't need to know what it will look like, because my knowing of what is enough. And so for those of us who are control freaks, then those things that are change, those things that are inevitable, those things that are happening at such a rapid pace could bring us pain. But for those of us who begin to understand and become non-attached, but simply know that all things are working together for good, then what we know is that we are on the precipice, we are on the cusp, we are on the cutting edge of that change, and we greet it with trust and with joy and with knowing. So this is really about finding your voice, your uniqueness, your originality, and not rehashing what has come before you. It's what makes my job so thrilling. I hear so many ministers say, "Oi, what am I going to talk about? Oi, it's the same thing week after week. Oi," and they're not even Jewish, and I go, "You know what? If you can't find inspiration in a piece of plastic, you're not paying attention. If you can't find awe in the day-to-day dealings and goings on of everything that is around us, we're not paying attention." And so paying attention brings us back to this now moment. Dennis Merritt Jones, one of our great colleagues, said, "Are you an emulator or are you an innovator?" If there is one thing all individuals who are innovators have in common, it is that they are more inclined than most people to naturally seek and follow their bliss. So this idea of finding your echo, your voice, is really intertwined and woven with what is your bliss? What is your purpose? Why are you here? And remember, your bliss, your purpose, has nothing to do with your vocation. It has everything to do with what brings you joy. That is your purpose. And so, first and foremost, here are 3 ground rules that you need to know. These are the things that you and I, if we have these 3 things, then I can guarantee you that echo is an echo of originality. Number 1 is, God does not argue, condemn, or keep score. God does not argue, condemn, or keep score. Why do you think that you need to know that? Because as you find your bliss, you get to realize that the universe constantly has your back. The universe holds nothing against you. The universe holds nothing against you and provides everything for you. everything for you. And so when you understand that which is God, call it source, call it infinite intelligence, call it the divine, there is no such thing in that relationship, that life purpose, that argues with you. There is nothing in that that condemns you. There is nothing in that energy that holds a record. You know, I don't know about you, but were you all told that there was a book and it had your name on it, and every time you screwed up, you were erased, and then when you made up, it was written back in again, and I can just imagine the tear where my name was, you know, erasing, writing it back in, erasing, writing it back in. There's no scorecard keeping. There is none of that. That which is life itself does not argue. And so the greatest example, and how appropriate for Father's Day, is the story of the prodigal son. Because if you remember, when the son said, "Give me my stuff. I want my stuff. Give it to me." The father did not argue. The father, the archetype of the father, that which is God, that which is all, said, "Here." Gave him all of his. He didn't say, "You take this, you mess up, don't be coming home. Don't be calling me at all hours of the night, begging and pleading. This is your bed, you lie in it." There was none of that. It was here. And so the son goes into what they call the far country. And every single one of us has gone into the far country. The far country is the states of unconsciousness where we forget who we are. The far country is that element of separation. The far country is the ego. It is all of the things that tell you that you are not worthy and that you and I have bought into. It is the echo and the opinion of someone else that has no idea of the uniqueness and the value and the dominion that rests inside of your heart. Not once in that story, and not once in your story, as you've wandered off into the far country, did this idea that we call God, this energy, did it ever argue, condemn, or hold a grudge? You must remember that. And so the next thing to know is that then everything is governed by law. Just as we said, the echo, everything that you put out comes back to you. Another line from Ralph Waldo Emerson is this: people do not seem to realize that their opinion of the world is also a confession of their character. To which a lot of people went, uh-oh. People do not seem to realize that their opinion of this world is also a confession of their character. So if you have an opinion of the world, of the fact that it is unfair, the fact that it's dog eat dog, the fact that you got cut off, the fact that you didn't get whatever you think you deserve, all of those kinds of things are a diametric template, an overlay of your consciousness. Period. And so in this week's newsletter, I said the most powerful thing any of us can ever remember and then apply is the fact that it is never about anything or anyone out there. Ever. Ever. Our experience, our attitude and circumstance is not created from what anyone did or did not do. The mental and physical framework of our being is solely constructed from our thoughts about all of that. It's not what the world is doing, it's our thoughts about the world and what it is doing. If you only grasp one thing in this lifetime, let it be that. And so in the understanding then of this law, the second thing is you must know life, take a big breath on this. Life is always fair. I know. Doesn't that just make you mad? Life is always fair. And it may appear maddening at times to own such responsibility for the quality of our life experience, particularly when our cultural landscape makes it so easy to be divisive and accusatory and blame-oriented. It's so easy, isn't it? And yet your echo requires more of you. It does. It is not permissible for any of us as a professed student of truth to shout out into the universe all of the banal lies, all of the lack and limitation, and all of the fear. There is much more required of you and I in this process. And the last thing is you must trade your history for mystery. And you must love it. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, whoever penetrates this inner life will find it to be birthless, deathless, fearless, eternal, happy, perfect, and complete. Gradually, there dawns in one's consciousness a sense that God is flowing into everything one is doing. As individuals, we must re-educate our minds and realize we have, as an ally, a presence, a law, in which the past, present, and future, and all people whom we call living and dead, live and move and have their being forever in this unfolding energy. So whatever your next thing is, be it one day, be it 35 years, you must know that the universe has your back. That what you are born from, the origin, originale, that which is the truth, the beginning of you, has its roots not in human origin, but spiritual origin, which tells us repeatedly, over and over again, that we are infinite potentiality. And so, what is your echo today? What is it that you continue to shout out into this universe? Or some of us mama's boys, and or some of us daddy's little girl, which is fine for a time, but at some point you and I have to grow up. And we have to take responsibility, and we have to own the power and the voice of who and what we are. And so it is.